All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for today's BU Alumni Career Coach Q&A, Navigating Job Loss. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm a member of the Alumni Career Engagement Team from the BU Alumni Association. Today's event is offered to our 389,000 alumni around the globe and, of course, all of our current students. We appreciate all of you for tuning in from some places that are very far away from our Boston campuses. Throughout your career, BU is committed to helping you define and achieve your professional goals, and we aim to do this by providing all of you with access to a series of valuable programs, tools, and communities. In addition to this webinar series, one of our most exciting resources is a free online community called BU Connects. We're going to talk a little bit more about this today. But if you haven't already signed up, I hope you'll take just 5 minutes after our hour together. Log in, set up your free profile at buconnects.com. We have over 36,000 BU community members, alumni and students who've already joined the platform, and it is the very best place to build your professional network with other terriers. We also have special mentoring opportunities, and I hope that you'll take the advantage to find yourself a mentor, become a mentor yourself, and hopefully do both. Before I introduce our special guest coach today, just a couple housekeeping notes for me about how our hour together is going to go. We are here to answer any and all questions you have about this incredibly important topic of navigating job loss. But we're going to get started with a short presentation on the subject before we open up the Q&A. You might notice I am recording this first presentation, and in order to try to create as much of a state of confidentiality as we can, I'm going to stop recording once we get into Q&A, and we're actually going to share the recording of Bob's presentation with everybody, along with a copy of his slide deck after the fact. Once we get to the Q&A, you are welcome to submit questions using the chat. We also have a Q&A function here on Zoom where you can anonymously submit a question. But what we're really hoping to do is create some dialogue here today. So we want to get started with those of you who are in attendance here. I want you to go ahead and raise your hand. If you click on the React panel on your Zoom toolbar, you can go ahead and click raise your hand, and I'll go ahead and call on you. You can unmute yourself if you're able to. If you can turn your camera on, even better. I realize some of you might be in situations where you can't turn your camera on. That's okay. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. And so we'll be launching the Q&A with asking you, some of you to just share your questions. So with that, it's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for the day, BU Questrom School of Business alum, Bob Dichter. Bob has over 4 decades of experience at the intersection of business strategy and technology in the healthcare industry. After earning his MBA in healthcare administration from BU, Bob focused his career at the intersection of business needs and technology solutions and has been referred to as a quote unquote, a healthcare business leader in a technologist's clothing. Bob has worked across nearly every sector of the healthcare landscape with a focus on providers and technology vendors. His expertise includes helping vendors craft effective go-to-market strategies. Beyond his professional work, Bob has been very active in the healthcare technology community. He served on the board of directors for the New England chapter of HIMSS for nearly 25 years, as a past president of the chapter, and founded and currently chairs its mentorship program. Nationally, he's a member of the HIMSS Professional Development Committee. But for the last 8 years, Bob has channeled his experience into career coaching, guiding professionals through the often overwhelming job search process. Drawing from both his business acumen and his own personal journey as a job seeker, he helps clients clarify their value, identify their ideal roles, and develop focused strategies to land their next opportunity faster and with greater confidence. Bob recognizes that most people don't have the knowledge and understanding of how to effectively search for a job, and it isn't their fault. They never were taught. His goals in his business are to provide support and guidance to his clients, but most importantly, teach them the techniques of finding a job as quickly as possible. Bob, we are so excited to have you doing this for us today. We were originally scheduled in April, but I'm thrilled that we could reschedule this for today. This is an incredibly important topic. One of the worst job markets in the last 40 years, particularly from folks that have just graduated from BU, all kinds of industries seeing massive transition and cuts. So you're really providing a service for us here today. I thank you, and I turn the floor over to you. Let's get started with your presentation.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jeff. I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate everybody attending today and taking time out of your day. For those of you on the East Coast, you're taking time away from lunch. That's very important. So I appreciate it. Hope this is going to be worth your while. So let's see. Does my system decide not to work? There we go. Okay. It always helps when I click on the right spot. So here's your agenda. I'm not going to read this to you. Everybody here can read an agenda, but the goal is we're going to talk about sort of where we're at and how we can move forward. So, Jeff has already done a pretty good definition of me, but I'm going to give a slightly different one. That guy in the picture, that's not me, by the way. But it is representational of what I felt like when I lost my job. And I've lost more jobs than I care to remember. Some of them were because I opened my mouth up and I shouldn't have. Some of them were because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Others were startups that didn't start up, and a few were due to layoffs. Most organizations weren't because I decided to leave on my own. I always thought I could fix things. And unfortunately, some organizations aren't fixable. So I lost a lot of positions. So I had to look for a lot of jobs. I hired a lot of career coaches. I got outplaced a couple of times. I networked with tons and tons and tons of people who were both other job seekers as well as people who had been successful in their career. So I learned a lot about job seeking. I ended up working, as Jeff mentioned, in the healthcare technology space. And in that world, I got very actively involved in HIMSS, as Jeff has mentioned. So for those of you who don't know what HIMSS is, it's the Health Information Management System Society. And so we are the professional association healthcare, who are involved in technology. I mentioned this because I'm going to talk again about sort of connecting with your community. And that's one of my communities that I've been involved with. So for the last 8 years, I've been doing career coaching. Jeff has already explained a little bit of that, so we don't have to go into that more. But a lot of the work that I do as a career coach is leveraging the work that I did as a healthcare IT leader, helping businesses go to market. Because the concept of looking for a job is effectively the idea of going to market. Now, it's probably not an idea you thought of before, so I'm going to introduce it today, and we're happy to talk more about it later. So this is all about how to manage a job loss, what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it. And again, as Jeff said, I really want a lot of questions. Losing a job sucks. Looking for a job sucks as much. So that representation on the top of a guy that's really angry and frustrated is so common. I speak to people constantly every single week, and I've been there myself. And I know that job loss comes with depression, anger, frustration, all the other ways that you can possibly think about life in a not so positive manner. Those are real. You need to accept those feelings. You can't ignore them. You can't bury them. You can't pretend they don't exist. Then it's not going to work. You need to figure out how to manage through them, with family, with friends, with religious leaders, with exercise, with music. Find a way to get through those feelings and get past them to some degree. We'll talk a little bit about attitude later, but this is one of the most important components of accepting and moving on, is dealing with those emotions. Don't expect them to go away. They're just not going to go away. You can't just say, I'm going to be okay in a couple of days. I'm going to give myself a day. I'm going to give myself 2 days. I'm going to give myself a month. People I've spoken to have taken sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And then they wake up and they say, I'm no better off today than I was 6 months ago. So that wasn't a very productive use of the time. You need to give yourself some time, be honest, live in the moment for it, but don't live in it for too long. There's a good article I read about the roller coaster, and I posted it here. It is going to be a roller coaster. There are going to be high days, low days, etc. Just understand it, expect it, and get help from your community. And that's really what the second part of this slide's all about. What's really critical is the part that says not judge. Okay. I will never forget when I was unemployed multiple times, my mother would call up, and the first words out of her mouth were, "Did you find a job yet?" And I wanted to go tell my mom to go blank. And I, of course, didn't because of my mom, and I loved her and she was a wonderful human being and she meant well, but she wasn't supportive at all. And she certainly wasn't judgmental. She wanted to support in her way. She was supporting. But for me, no, 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 that wasn't supporting. That wasn't supporting at all. So find people who are going to not only support you, but also not judge you, because this isn't your fault. As Jeff said, um, you never got taught how to look for a job. And oftentimes, the fact that you're no longer working isn't your fault. Occasionally it is. And you need to accept that. But regardless of the situation, you need to find a way to move on, and you need to find a way for people to help you move on. So as I said here, family and friends will want to help initially, but oftentimes after a week, a month, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever, they still no longer are quite that support mechanism that you wanted. So find people who can be. Find others who are unemployed. Super important. I participated in what we called a job search work team, or job search support group. Go to unemployment if you don't know of any in your town or your area. Oftentimes they're organized by industry. But when I lost positions in Austin, when I lost positions in Boston, that was Austin, Texas, and Boston, Mass. I found organizations near me that I could go to once a week with people who were similar to me, who had the same exact problems, who could commiserate with me and help me, and I could help them. Um, but really don't ignore professional job search help. I know I'm a career coach. This is one of the ways I earn money, but recognize the fact that if you take 6 months out, like one of my clients did, when I reached out to him the day he lost his job, because he and I already knew each other, and I said, Seth, do you need help? And he said, no, I got it. I'm all set. Don't worry about me. And I said, great, good luck. 6 months later, he reached out. He said, Bob, I was an idiot. I'm sorry, but I was an idiot. I should have asked for your help earlier. So he lost 6 months worth of income, and we're now working on creating a plan for him to move forward. You don't need to spend money. You can do all this on your own, but sometimes somebody else in your corner can really help make this process be much more effective. So just be aware of that. Just don't, time is money. But professional alumni associations, I mentioned HIMSS before. I've been involved in HIMSS for 25 years. These are my people. They know me, they like me, they respect me, and I know them and like them. When I need to find somebody to help, these are the people I reach out to. People in your professional organizations that you belong to, or haven't, if you haven't belonged, join, are great ways for you to get to know people in your industry, get to know people. And these are people who have sources for jobs. These are people as sources for networking. Alumni associations are also fantastic. BU is an enormous alumni association. Jeff, how many people in the Alumni Association you mentioned earlier?
More than 389,000 after this year's graduation. We haven't updated our
Okay.
number, but it's a lot of people.
Okay, so almost 400,000 people worldwide are in the Alumni Association. These are people you can reach out to immediately. You have an immediate kindred spirit with these people. They all attended BU. They all want to help. Now, not obviously all 400,000 are going to help you, but it's an amazing source of location. And Jeff's going to talk more about some of the BU opportunities. But professional association, alumni associations are great places to be community, because they understand where you're at and they can offer assistance. And we'll talk more about networking later. So next step, now that you have created your community, you have a little bit of sat in your situation and understood your emotions, and working towards positive emotions. What do you do next? You need to evaluate. Where are you? What are you doing? What do you want to do? Where are you going? How are you going to go there? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you need these basic concepts to be able to figure out what are you going to do. So the issue that I've mentioned a couple of times is you weren't taught how to find a job is true, but you were taught how to ride a bike, how to drive a car, all those things that you do daily. You were never taught how to look for a job. So how do you know what to do on Monday morning? What most people do on Monday morning is they do what they think they should be doing was they look on online job ads, they start applying to online job ads, and they do the same thing day in and day out and day in and day out, and they don't get very far. So do you have a plan that's going to actually get you very far? So what the 4 pillars of successful job search? This is my concept. Feel free to disagree with me. Throw it in the chat, put a comment in. I'd love to debate you on this. I would be happy to have you tell me I'm wrong. Absolutely no problem with that at all. But so far, no one else has. So I think these are accurate. So the first is attitude. How do you come across? This all goes back to those emotions that happen when you lost your job. How are you feeling about yourself? You're not a failure because you lost your job. You got in a bad situation. It didn't work out. Now is an opportunity for you to move forward. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It means that job wasn't a good fit. But how you present yourself has an enormous ability to how you do the job search going forward. How you feel about yourself? Do you have imposter syndrome? Are you presenting yourself in a way that somebody else wants to hire? That whole attitude issue is critically important for success. And most of the people that I work with, that's their first stumbling block, is they feel badly about themselves and they feel like they have imposter syndrome. So they don't know how to get out of that. So how to get out of it is the second idea, is the value proposition, how you selling yourself concept. That's the first bullet here. If you don't have something good to sell, then who's going to buy it? Why are they going to buy it? If you don't have something good to sell, then you don't feel good about yourself. And it's hard for you to present yourself positively. And you sort of look like this guy in the picture here who's sort of saying, what the, you know what? That's not how you want to be. You want to be positive. You want to have confidence. You want to be able to present yourself effectively by having an effective value proposition. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. What are you looking for? What's your ideal job? That's the third thing. And the fourth thing is, do you have a strategy to get there? Do you know what to do next? So we'll talk all about these next. So I talked about the hamster wheel earlier. So this is a guy trying to get off the hamster wheel, but it's really, really hard to get off the hamster wheel. It is so common that I speak to people all the time who basically just get on that hamster wheel and they continue doing the same thing day in and day out, every single day, week after week, month after month, and they expect that things are going to change. Well, I think you all guys know what the definition of insanity is. Continue to do the same thing every single day, expecting something to change, and it doesn't. And so that's why Seth called me, because he said, listen, Bob, I'm not having success. I need an intervention. I need somebody who can assist me in this process. So if you're on this hamster wheel, you need to figure out how to get off. You need to figure out how to work at it. So the first thing is marketing yourself. What is your value proposition? So value proposition is a concept that really comes from the business side of the world. If you are building a product or a service, you want to go to market, you want to be able to tell your customers who you are and what you do. You want to be able to say, I perform this service, or I have this product and I solve this problem for this kind of customer. That's a value proposition that a business would do. Well, you as an individual have to have the same concept if you're looking for a job. What do you do that's unique? What do you accomplish? And how do you work? People hire you not because you're smart, not because you're experienced, not because you've held all these titles. They don't hire you for skills, experience, and knowledge. They hire you because you're going to make a difference in their organization. You're going to solve their problems. You're going to improve how that company operates in some way, shape, or form. So the value proposition reflects how you do work and what do you accomplish. The ideal job definition is almost as important, not quite, because that says, where do you want to go next? What do you want to do? What are you looking for? What do you want to accomplish? What is important to you and where? Do you want to work in the healthcare industry? Do you want to work in the hospitality industry? Do you want to work in the legal industry? These are all fine, legitimate options. But defining where you want to be, and then specifically what kind of role do you want, what kind of company, what do they accomplish, what do they do, who are their customers? These are the kind of questions to start asking about, what do you want to do next? If this last job didn't work out so well and you want to pivot, you want to figure out what you want to do next, where do you want to go? And we'll talk more about pivoting later. So problem, action, results. This is how I like to reference your stories, your examples when you go out and you talk to people. A lot of people talk about STAR, situation, task, action, result. I find that STAR doesn't work effectively. I like problem, action, result better because it relates back to what the company has. They have a problem and you know how to solve it. You've solved that problem before and you know exactly what to do about that. And you can say, this is what I do for a living. I solve these problems. There are people who do efficiency work. There are people who do other things. But if you sell only skills, experience, and knowledge, you're not talking about problem, action, and results. You're not talking about how you're going to be of value to the organization. So think from those terms, then build a value proposition from those. Resume, LinkedIn, networking all have to reflect this messaging. This is how you market yourself. This is your marketing material, is your LinkedIn profile. And oh, by the way, if people tell you you can fix your resume, that's the first thing to do after you lose your job. Sorry, that's my humble opinion, not the first thing you do after you lose your job. You figure out who you are and what you're selling and where do you want to sell it to. Because if you don't know those answers, then what you're doing is you're creating a resume that may or may not land correctly with the people you want it to land with. But if you figure out what do you want to do and what are you selling, that's value proposition, ideal job concepts, then you can change your resume. Then you can change your LinkedIn profile to reflect all that information. How do you, now what do you do with this? You need to create a strategy that leverages networking. So I talk about networking very importantly because between 60 and 85% of jobs are found through networking. That's it. 60, 85% of jobs are found through networking. That means that's where you should be spending your time. If you spend your time focused exclusively on online job ads, you're missing a huge ton of opportunities. So connect and build relationships. That's what networking it is. It isn't sending a message like somebody did to me 2 days ago that says, hi, I'm Joe. Do you have a job for me? And oh, by the way, here's my resume. That's not networking. That's obnoxious. That is being presumptuous. Connect and build that relationship. Establish it. Use BU Connects. Use LinkedIn. Leverage the BU Alumni Association. Leverage your professional associations. Leverage your any other associations that you belong to, any other groups that you belong to, and get connected with people. Then you can start networking. And I can talk more about that later. Anyway, that's a quickie. We just wanted to talk for a short amount of time. I actually talked a little longer than expected. This is all my information here to reach out to me. I offer a free career coaching session, as you can see right here. These slides are going to be sent out so you all have them. This is my LinkedIn information as well as my email. Feel free to request a free career coaching session. As I said, it's free. It's an hour. I'm happy to be able to help you. Also, as a BU person, I am offering a discount for my programs. So if you sign up within the next month, you get approximately 20% discount off of my pricing. I'll be happy to talk about pricing later with anybody individually. And so now is time for Q&A, and I will stop sharing.
Bob, this is great. I love your approach on a lot of this, and I wholeheartedly agree with your idea that jobs today are found through networking. These I've never seen scientific studies, but I do believe that 60 to 85% of jobs are found through networking. And I'm so glad that you mentioned a couple times the BU Alumni Association and BU Connects. For those of you that aren't familiar with BU Connects, I know I talked about it at the beginning, but this is a BU only resource that it's not super fair to distill it down to saying it's like a BU private LinkedIn, but it kind of is. It's an online community where every person who joins, think of it as a first degree connection. Using BU Connects in conjunction with LinkedIn is an incredible way to build your network. And the thing that's special about BU Connects is that when people join, We ask them to be very specific about the types of help they are willing to offer others. Meet up for a one-time career conversation. I'm happy to look at your resume or do an informational interview with you. I'm willing to help open doors at my workplace. So as you're getting out there researching people to connect with, using LinkedIn and BU Connects together is incredibly valuable. I won't go into much more detail than that because we do want to get to your questions, but I do want to make sure folks know we're actually offering a 1 hour deep dive training into how to use BU Connects next month. It's going to be on July 17th from 12 to 1. You can sign up for that now on our Alumni and Friends webpage. You can find it at bu.edu/alumni. And we have a ton of information already on our website that you can access at any time about how to use BU Connects, how to get in, and how to start making those strong connections. So we definitely, as Bob said, we really want this to be